Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video, and today we're going to be talking about PlayStation exclusive games being ported over to the PC and the overall discourse that has been happening around this particular subject. For those of you that are not aware, Sony has announced that 2018's God of War is going to be making its way onto the PC, I believe, at some point next year. And in case you guys are wondering, Rurikhan, what's your opinion on that? I'm pumped. I'm super happy about the fact that God of War is going to be coming to another platform, because that means more people get to play God of War. I honestly do not see a single bad thing about it, but I can understand why some people would think so, and we'll get into that a little bit further ahead in the video. But for now, I'm just super pumped. Like, imagine like you have that one friend that only really plays on the PC and you never really got to talk to him about God of War because, you know, he never really got to experience it. And sure, you can talk at him about God of War and kind of like, you know, tease him a little bit. But ultimately, he's not really going to have as much context as you have about how good the combat feels, how great the story was, or any of those things. So to me, more people getting to play more video games, always a positive thing, unless those games are mobile, because those things will rot your brains not even once. Mobile games, not even once. I mean, depending on. So there are a couple of good ones here and there, but most of them are terrible, shovelware, atrocious. So let's not even go there. Anyways, God of War coming to the PC 2022, and there's been a significant reaction from the different communities. But God of War is not the only game that is going to be hitting PCs sooner rather than later, which were previously PlayStation exclusives. Another game that we're getting is Uncharted 4 and Uncharted Lost Legacy, which is the DLC, the standalone DLC for Uncharted 4, which again, friggin' fantastic games, and I'm super happy more people get to play them. And in case you guys are wondering, oh, but I'm going to miss out on, you know, Uncharted 1 through 3 and whatnot. And yes, you are going to be missing out on a significant chunk of story, but at the same time, Uncharted 4 stands perfectly fine on its own 2 feet as a standalone thing. You don't even have to worry about that, at least in my opinion, which I have played the entirety of Uncharted 4. As a matter of fact, there's a full playthrough here on the channel. And in case you guys are wondering, I recommend these games very highly. I haven't really played that much of Lost Legacy. I thought it was really good, but I remember I started playing it and something else came up that I had to work on, and I never really got around to finishing it. But I don't think it's particularly long. But either way, like God of War, Uncharted 4, these are 2 fantastic titles. The PC has also already received Horizon Zero Dawn and Days Gone, which were also titles that I really enjoyed. Now, Sony has also announced that essentially their PlayStation mobile brand, kind of to speak, their publishing arm, whatever you want to call it, that is going to get rebranded into PlayStation PC, you know, to further support these efforts of porting more PlayStation exclusive titles onto the PC. Now, as you can imagine, there is a section of the community that is quite upset. And unlike what I've seen on several videos and several Twitter threads and all of this stuff, I'm not here to dunk on these people, because ultimately I can understand why some people would be upset by this. You know, because this is the platform that they've spent their hard-earned money on, you know, because not everybody can afford a PC. Okay, I realize that a lot of people are going to be like, why don't you just get a PC? Just get a PC. It's like, not everybody can get a PC. Okay, PCs are extremely expensive. Even if you go like on the low end, you're either going to get something that is not going to be as good, or, you know, you're going to get something that is going to be ridiculously expensive. And pay attention to one thing in particular, because I always see this on a lot of people from the US in particular. They tend to be like, PC parts are not that expensive. Okay, now you're probably not saying that because, you know, GPU situation and all of that with crypto miners and the shortages in semiconductors and all the problems we're experiencing right now in the world. But, you know, back in the day, I remember before the pandemic and all of this stuff, I always remember people from the US in particular being like, parts are not that expensive. Trust me, when you step outside of the US, parts get pretty friggin' expensive, okay? Computers are really friggin' expensive, okay? But anyways, that's besides the point. What I wanted to talk about here is how I can understand where some of these people are coming from, because like they spent a significant chunk of their income into a console, and now they are seeing these exclusives that are being put onto the PC as like, you know, their console losing value. But what I would like to tell those people is that yes, exclusives are a big reason to own a PlayStation 5. You're still getting to play the games significantly earlier than the people who are getting them on PC, even though, in my opinion, I think things would be even better if you just like release everything day and date. That's my take on it, and I know that a lot of people are not going to like that. It is what it is. That's the way that I look at things. I would prefer to see things on multiple platforms simultaneously. Hell, I remember when I was way younger and significantly more naive, I remember thinking like, why don't they just like sell, a box that has all three versions of a game in there? And by all three versions at the time, I remember that I was thinking about the Xbox version, the PlayStation 3 version, because I think this was during the PlayStation 3 era that I was thinking this up in my head. Why can't I just have like the Xbox 360 version, the PlayStation version, the PC version, all in the same pack, and have crossplay and cross, progress and all of this stuff? That would be way cooler and way more consumer friendly, and you would have way bigger communities. How many multiplayer games do you see that come and go the way of the dodo because quite simply the community in whatever platform the multiplayer game comes out is not big enough? Tons and tons of games that we have seen that quite simply don't get enough of a critical mass of people because they're stuck on just one platform. If you had them on all three platforms, it would be way cooler. And now I want you to understand one thing, and that is that you might look at this in a way where it's like, yeah, but still, my platform is still losing value because my exclusive games are going to another place. And you have to think of it like this. Listen, the people who still have not invested in the PlayStation 5, either they haven't been able to get it because, semiconductor shortage, hardware shortage, all the problems that we're experiencing in the world. So either they haven't been able to get it or they're never going to get it. And at which point, if they're part of number two, the people that are never going to get it, what would you prefer happen? That they would never give Sony money, or that they would buy games from Sony that were previously exclusive and now they're on other platforms? Thus, Sony makes more money, which they can then reinvest more money into bringing more games into their platform of choice. Like, what is preferable? Like, think about it. What if God of War sees a second life on the PC? I mean, Horizon Zero Dawn I don't know what the sales of Horizon Zero Dawn were like, but I remember that Horizon Zero Dawn had like a couple of performance issues and stuff like that on the PC. Hopefully they iron that stuff out because I want these ports being flawless so that everybody gets like a really good experience. And it's like, in essence, this benefits everyone. Like PC gamers buying these games, and especially because PC games tend to have a really long tail, which this is a marketing term, which means that, they sell high on the day of release, but then they like keep selling throughout a longer period of time than historically on consoles because of Steam sales and other stuff, and also because they get hardware at different rates. It's not like, new hardware, and most of the people get it. With PC, it's different. Not everybody's able to get hardware at the same time. People are in different cycles, and therefore that is why you see games having different, different spikes in sales and stuff like that. Sometimes even just through content creation, you can see a spike in sales. Like, for instance, Final Fantasy XIV and Asmongold. When Asmongold, decided to try out Final Fantasy XIV, they had to stop selling Final Fantasy XIV. This is not a joke. They had to stop selling the game because it was selling too much and they didn't have enough server space for everyone that was piling on the servers. But anyway, all this to say, I can understand why you're upset, but if you really think this through to a logical conclusion, you'll realize you're actually not losing anything. And the company that you are supporting by, being a part of PlayStation or however you think about Sony, they're essentially getting more money, which they can then use to make even more games and better games and polish up their titles to bring to you, the PlayStation user. So really think about it in those terms. And I think that you'll reach a point where it's like, you know what, thinking about it, they're getting more money from PC, which means more money for them to work on games to bring to the console. So yeah, I mean, I get it. There's always been rivalry in the gaming community all the way back since Nintendo versus Sega. And probably earlier than this. Nintendo versus Sega is just the one that kind of like dates me, because when I was a teenager, that was like the big thing. Nintendo versus Sega. Sega does what Nintendo don't. And all of these other things. And you might even argue that several publishers actively engage in this rivalry between consoles, and they feed into this tribalism because this increases their sales. Like, you guys remember when Xbox One was doing terrible and, Sony did the thing where they took a dig at them and like, oh, this is how you loan a game to a friend. Because they had like all kinds of nonsense DRM on the Xbox One. It's like, these publishers will actively feed into this to kind of like, because they get your loyalty and it increases their sales. And you actively do the stuff that a lot of people are doing on Twitter right now and other social media platforms, which is basically you are fighting against the other platform, which is the PC. So it's not surprising to me that people feel this way, and it will not be surprising to me to find a bunch of hate comments in this comment section. But I want you to understand that I'm on the side of gaming as a whole. I'm just thinking of this as like the entirety of the gaming community. I'm not on the side of PlayStation. I'm not on the side of Xbox. Even though I got, in the interest of full disclosure, Nintendo sent me a Switch like back in 2017, whenever the Switch came out. So they sent me a Switch for free that I got to keep. I didn't ask them for this. They sent me one. Same thing for PlayStation 5. Sony sent me a PlayStation 5 that I got to keep for free. Again, interest of full disclosure. Somehow nobody in the PC world ever gave me a PC for free. But it's like... Either way, I'm not saying that I deserve these things. I was going to buy these devices regardless of whether or not I would get them. But the point of the matter is, I'm not on anybody's side. I'm not here, simping for Team Sony, simping for Team Xbox. The reason I'll most likely own a PlayStation throughout a significant portion of my life is because a lot of my friends own PlayStation and it makes it easier for us to game together. Same thing for Switch. Several of my friends own Switch. Makes it easier for us to game together. Curiously enough, not that many of my friends actually play on PC. But I still own a PC as well to game and stuff. But again, you just have to realize gaming is not a zero-sum game. More games on more platforms is a good thing. And like I said, publishers actively engage in this to foment this rivalry, but in essence, we should all be together and come together and talk about this stuff without being like all mad about, oh, you're an Xbox guy, aren't you? You're terrible, I hate you. Like, I even remember back when I went to BlizzCon in 2013, they called the audience Blizzard gamers, and I'm just like, Blizzard gamers? It's like, we're gamers, yeah, we're at the Blizzard event, but we're not just Blizzard gamers. At least, I've always played more than just like one or two games. That's the way that I look at things anyway. But yeah, there is rivalries inside of the gaming community, but I hope that people can understand that there can be a second life on a lot of these games on PC. And that ultimately that is a good thing that will benefit gaming as a whole. Like, to give you guys another example of a game that I would like to see ported over to the PC is Gravity Rush 2, because I feel that Gravity Rush 2 is an incredibly underrated game that didn't really make as much sales as it could have done, and it being ported to the PC could potentially give it a second life and could potentially give more money to those developers so that they can continue developing titles, It's an incredibly underrated game. Obviously, Soul Sacrifice is an easy example, but that's probably never going to happen because that died with the PlayStation Vita, unfortunately. But I would love to see Soul Sacrifice come over to the PlayStation 5, the Xbox One, the PC. Put Soul Sacrifice everywhere. Imagine all of a sudden, the entirety of the gaming community would have access to Soul Sacrifice. Just imagine in your head, just for a split second, okay? Soul Sacrifice on the Switch, on the Xbox, on the PlayStation, on the PC, all with crossplay. Just think about that for 1 second. Wouldn't that be amazing? Now think about another one. For instance, imagine PC gamers getting their first taste of Shadow of the Colossus, the Blue Point Studios remaster. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't it be great to see some people react to Shadow of the Colossus for the very first time? Dude, I think that'd be amazing. And like Shadow of the Colossus, I can also say Demon Souls. And I know that people are going to be like, oh no, don't put Demon Souls on PC. What do you mean? Dude, imagine Demon Souls on PC with crossplay. Hell, imagine Demon Souls on Xbox. I know that's probably never going to happen, but imagine if it did. Imagine Demon Souls on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. The only reason I don't say Switch is because the Switch ain't going to be powerful enough to run no friggin' Demon Souls, unless it's running like the older version. the Blue Point version, it had to be in the cloud, and I hate cloud gaming for single player games. Sorry, it's terrible. Don't even come at me. But it's just think about it like that. Dude, Demon Souls could have its second life. And you could see the the multiplayer community re-energized, people doing invasions and people doing all this kind of stuff. Yes, you'd probably see cheaters as well. I know that a lot of people will bring that topic up because, you know, but it's like, you got to take the good with the bad. Imagine being able to play Demon Souls with your friend that only has a PC. Wouldn't that be awesome? Wouldn't that be worth it? Wouldn't that be cool? Imagine Bloodborne on the PC. Wouldn't that be awesome? Bloodborne getting a second life. Hell, again, imagine Bloodborne on Xbox. And just like that, imagine Halo on PlayStation. I honestly cannot understand how people will still be like, oh, but you know, I don't want Halo. Halo's bad. I don't want Gears of War. Why not? More games and more platforms is a good thing. And yes, this is baby steps. God of War coming to PC like 4 years after release. It's a baby step, but it's a step. It's a step. And to me, it's a positive one. I don't think we need to hoard these games like, oh no, I don't want anybody to play my games. I'm the exact opposite. In case you haven't noticed, like when I started my channels, I'm always the exact opposite of that hoarding notion. Like the first channel that I ever created, I wanted to teach people how to tank, which was a valued skill set back in World of Warcraft, people knowing how to tank. And I was like, I just want more people to be able to do it. I don't want to like hoard this skill set just to myself. When I started the channel that you're watching this on right now, it was because I wanted to tell people Dark Souls is not that hard. It was not about excluding people from the conversation. Quite the opposite. It was about bringing people in. Bring more people into the game. That's always my objective. Why do I do guides for Monster Hunter? Because I want more people to play Monster Hunter, because that's a good thing. And I don't care which platform they play it on, whether they play it on Switch, play it on PC, play it on PlayStation, play it on Xbox, dude, play it wherever. If anything, what I would like to see is cross-play so that I could play with them. So that I wouldn't have to like organize 5 different lobbies of like Monster Hunter for Xbox, Monster Hunter for PC, Monster Hunter for, and trying to run these lobbies when we were doing the Kulf to Roth sieges. Come on, guys. I understand why some of you feel that way, but really think it through a little bit more. Don't think just in terms of like, no, I want these things on my platform. Think beyond that. Wouldn't it be awesome if everybody could get in on that action? Don't you want more people to play these games you think are amazing? Not everybody's going to have disposable income to buy your specific platform that you play it on. This is a good thing. There's nothing to lose. At least that's the way that I look at it. And at the same time, I'd also like to point out that I don't think the community should just like instantly lash out at the people that say these things. Because like I think that there's a lot more to gain, again, from having positive discourse and actually trying to reason with people as opposed to just going like, oh man, you guys are all terrible. You're just like selfish pricks. You just want all these exclusives for yourselves. It's like, that's also not necessarily a good thing. This happens way too often, and it happens a whole lot in the gaming community to the point where a lot of times I'll see people use gamers as a pejorative term, which really makes me like, really? Gamers as a like I see it used all the goddamn time. People going like, oh, these gamers, yeah, gamers this, gamers are evil, gamers that. It's like, really? Like somehow we're something lower than politicians? Like I see gamers being criticized in social media more often than politicians. Are you for real? More often than bankers. I never see bankers getting criticized in social media. What the hell, dude? Guys, like seriously, do a little reason. It's ridiculous the how low people think of the term gamers. And I have to say, I think that one of the biggest problems in online communities is these types of sweeping generalizations. Because let me tell you, every single community out there has bad apples. Doesn't matter which community you're talking about. You might think, no. My community is the most wholesome community in the whole world. It's got bad apples. It's got 100% it has. Don't even think to imagine that you're part of some online community that has absolutely no bad apples whatsoever. That you're living in fantasy land if you're thinking like that. And if you think of everything that gamers have done throughout the years, I would say that we've had a much more positive effect on society than a negative one. that's just food for thought. And if you want to challenge that particular statement that I made there, take into consideration how much gamers have donated for charity, helped out in community work, supported content creators, supported just like people who needed support. Think about all of the things that these evil gamers have done and see if we are worthy of receiving all of these negative, pejorative terms that I see being thrown at us in social media all the goddamn time. But anyways, I guess I would just like to end this video by saying, be a little bit more understanding of each other. I realize that this is something that goes from like friggin' talking about PlayStation games being ported to PC to trying to bring a more positive message into gaming. But, you know, I got to take my swings where I can. Thank you all very much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit it up with a like. If you did not enjoy this video, hit it up with a dislike. Feedback is important. If you usually enjoy my content, subscribe, bell notification icon, all of that stuff. I'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, and keep your shields up. Peace out.